Hello, everybody. Welcome to Vision Untethered podcast, conversations with inspirational leaders. My name is Jill Simonds. I am founder of Savvy Strategic Partners. We are a dedicated leadership team of fractional executives, executing vision, increasing business value, and helping our founder owners realize freedom. I am so excited to introduce our amazing guest today. Kelli Vaughan is the owner of TeamLogic IT Fort Collins, where her team is dedicated to delivering proactive, reliable, and security-focused IT solutions for small and mid-sized businesses in the Northern Colorado area. With a sharp business mind, heart for helping organizations grow smarter and stronger with technology, Kelli has built her firm into a trusted partner for companies navigating everything from cybersecurity risks to scaling IT infrastructure. Kelli, so excited to have you
Thank you. That was an
today.
amazing introduction. Can I take you alongside of me when I do my networking and 30-second elevator pitch?
Yes, I could be your MC.
Amazing.
Yes, would love it. So excited to have you. Another Fort Collins local in the area where we both live. So that's always fun too. I talk to people all over the country. So it's actually more rare, to find other business owners and have other business join us here locally. I should probably maybe it'd be worthwhile having like an actual studio put together and think through having like a more live in-person podcast for these. But here we
Yeah,
are.
that would be
Yeah.
fun. This is amazing, but that would be fun. And yes, I'm actually fourth generation native to Fort Collins. So been around, our family's been around a long
Okay.
time, and my husband from Greeley. So we
Yeah.
love local, and I love it when
Oh.
I run into local owners. So
Absolutely. I am native as well, not to Fort Collins area, but grew up south of Denver, so Colorado Springs, and then I've just like gradually inched my way up to northern Colorado.
love it.
And yeah, we're staying put here. We love this part of the state. So
The community is pretty fantastic up here.
it is. I know I couldn't the people is definitely would be the hardest to leave. So I am with you there. Well, awesome for you to join us and for me to have the opportunity to just dive into your journey and your story. I'm curious first what inspired your journey into business ownership and specifically this industry that you've pioneered for TeamLogic IT.
Yeah, so I will try and keep it brief, but it's a fairly long story.
Mm,
Previously, I was in banking, and actually, that was a long time ago. And then I moved into national security, and I worked for federal contractors for the last 12 years um, before we owned TeamLogic IT Fort Collins, doing security clearances for those who are doing background checks for those who needed security clearances. So, for example, if you're in the military, you need a clearance. So, if you work for a federal
right.
contractor, you need a clearance. I worked with one of those contractors that helped initiate those background investigations.
Mm,
With working for a federal contractor, what happens is contracts are lost regularly. And we lost a prime contract for the company that I worked for, and that led to mass layoffs eventually down the road. So
mhm,
I think it was a year ago in June, I was laid off. And at that time, we weren't quite sure what we were going to do in life.
mhm,
But my brother actually lives in Florida, and he and my sister-in-law had just purchased a franchise,
mhm,
a wood restoration company, because there's a lot of wood rot in Florida. So he
mhm,
had been through his journey, and my brother, he holds things a little closer, so he hadn't really talked to me about his journey. But he called me that night and we had an hour long conversation. And he just encouraged me to look at things in a non-conventional way. And
mhm,
so I got to thinking, and I just briefly mentioned it to Anthony, my husband. He doesn't like risk.
mhm.
I didn't think anything would come from it. And asked for an introduction to my brother's franchise broker.
Okay.
Within a week, we were set up with a broker. We started looking through the franchise process. Now, that was not the only process we looked at. We did a deep dive
Mm,
into everything. Where do we want life to be, and what do we want life to look like in 5 years, in 10 years? Um,
mhm,
do I want to get another full-time job? Do I want to stay at home or work part-time and spend more time with our 7-year-old daughter, which is actually my
Mm,
dream and part what led to business ownership because we're looking long
yeah.
term with that time freedom. Um, and then my husband had some other dreams that he brought to the table, and we spent 5 to 6 months wrestling with what's the best choice. And when we
Yeah.
landed on we were going to purchase a business or be business owners, we then looked at, do we acquire a business? Do we start a business from the ground up? Do we do a franchise?
Mm,
And since we
sure.
hadn't ever been business owners before, franchise
Sure.
was just the natural lead in. We wanted
Okay.
the support, we wanted the coaching, we wanted a franchise that really would be a partner in the industry that
Mm-hmm.
we chose. Once we did that, we looked at many different brands from senior care, home
Mm-hmm.
senior care, home
Oh,
services.
yeah.
We looked at a cleaning company, we looked at restoration, we looked at carpet cleaning, and we
Okay.
ended up landing on IT. Now, my
Yep.
husband is an IT supervisor for UC Health, not the reason why we landed on IT, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We just really liked the support that TeamLogic does provide to their franchisees. They've been around for 20 years, so they are a franchise that has proven methods. They have
Yep.
over 300 franchise owners nationwide, so there's a really good support system. It's not owned by private equity, it's still owned by family, which we really liked. And
Yeah.
our motto is people first, technology next. And we
Mm-hmm.
really, that spoke to us. We believe that technology is
Mm-hmm.
a tool to be used to support people, to help grow businesses, to give peace of mind. And
Mm-hmm.
that it's the people that come first and the technology that comes next. And in a
Yeah.
world that technology is erupting right now, AI is erupting, we need
Sure.
that human touch to it.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
So
Amazing.
we ended
Yeah.
up buying the franchise the end of 2024, launched it
Oh
beginning
my
of
gosh.
2025. It's been a whirlwind
Yeah.
since.
Yeah. So still fresh.
Still fresh,
Very
yes.
fresh. So in this, has there been a pivotal failure you've encountered so far in your business journey?
Hmm.
And how has addressing it shaped the growth strategy moving forward from there?
Ooh, yes, a couple things come to mind with that.
Yeah,
Nobody really wants to talk about their failures. So
I know.
that's a bold question. Um, my My husband, though, says that I am such an authentic person that it makes sense that I would answer that. But I'm wrestling between
Hmm.
tell you both or one. Um,
Sure.
the first thing that comes to my mind is the culture in our office.
Hmm.
We initially had hired someone else that we didn't provide, in my opinion, the proper tools and direction because we were just learning to really provide a good culture and they weren't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a fit culturally from the start anyway. So we have learned a lot with staffing our technician now that we have. We went and changed our hiring process. It was much
Hmm.
more lengthy. We focused much more on culture, knowledge level, all sorts of different things. And he is
Hmm.
a good fit for us. It has really helped. We've been able to get our processes in order so that
Yeah.
now we can begin the growing phase of, okay, let's hit the road running. It's time to grow. That was one failure. The second
Hmm.
is learning how to manage my time. I'm a mother of a 7-year-old, and
Yeah.
I love being a mother. That's the thing I
Hmm.
love the most. As a
Yeah.
business owner, you're working long days, sometimes 15-hour days. I'm not going to lie. So managing the time that my family gets together, the time that my
Hmm.
daughter gets with me and my husband,
Right.
and I'm not going to lie, there was a period of time a few months ago that I walked into my husband's office and I said, I'm not sure I can do this. I don't know
Mm.
how to do it. And
Yeah.
what I did was I ended up having to pick myself up by my bootstraps, right? But I
Yeah.
have faith. I prayed a lot. I talked
Yeah.
to my family. I talked to my business coaches. I talked to my husband. And we just started focusing on the small wins, getting
Mhm.
a lead, not necessarily a signed client, but hey, here's a lead. That's a win. What are the wins in the day that occurred? Instead of jumping from ground zero to all of a sudden this
Mhm.
large, secure business, there are many steps that come into place before that.
Oh,
And I found
absolutely.
myself wanting to jump past where we actually were.
Mhm.
And I had to bring myself back to this is where we're at. This is what needs to be. Let's go from there. Um,
Yeah.
but man, I look back and when they say business makes you put all your blood, sweat, and tears in, it's
Yeah.
true. Especially a tears part. There have been days it's brought me to my knees. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not easy at
No.
all.
No. It's not for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Yeah. How do you see in the journey of this that designing systems, processes. I mean, franchise, right, is a different path where a lot of that is structured for you. How has that kind of propelled and allowed the company to thrive early on
Mhm.
without your constant oversight, given the fact, typical in a typical situation, all of that is yeah, none of that's outlined and built. So you're doing all of processes and systemization and methodology. Meanwhile, bringing a team into that, has that been a pivotal part of growth and alignment with a new team for you?
It has, even in the sense that the franchise provides coaching. So if I have a
Yeah.
question or
Mm-hmm.
something that I want changed or I feel needs to be changed, I can go
Mm-hmm.
to the coaches and say, hey, help me with this. That
Sure.
alone is huge because not everyone has a coach, and I feel like everyone needs a coach. But yes, when you have that foundation built,
Mm-hmm.
it's really important. The foundation of your mission, your vision, your values,
Mm-hmm.
the foundation of your policies and your procedures. Because if your foundation is not strong and steady, you're just going to topple when you start to build,
Right.
grow. So I do think it is important, and a franchise helps with those systems. I think it takes years off of starting a
Yeah.
business, to be honest with
Absolutely.
you.
Oh,
Years.
absolutely.
And there are upsides and downsides to a franchise, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
benefits. Some of the things I'm learning is that they don't, a franchise doesn't always know the local environment. So that's where business coaches also
Mm-hmm.
our area, or being a local, talking to other business owners and learning how do you do sales? How do you do marketing? What works in this area? Does email work? Do calls work? Does in-person one-on-ones work? So it's nice to have that foundation and systems and then to
Mm-hmm.
take it from there and make it our own.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's it's a pivotal step that is at least, that much less to have to really worry about and added time and energy that goes into that phase of the business. So that's helpful. What would you say are some common psychological barriers for you that prevent you from stepping back. You mentioned the 15 hours a week and the energy and the overload. What's been some psychological barriers that you may be processing through in that to know that once you can identify those, since you can overcome them, have any come to mind for you or been roadblocks in this journey for you?
I think that there's a few. Um, First one that comes to my mind is self-confidence. I think
Mm-hmm.
if we're going to be a business owner, you question
Yeah.
absolutely
Mm-hmm.
everything about anything, right?
Totally.
And I've learned that I'm not alone in that, which when you're
Mm,
open and honest and authentic about it, you realize, Oh, there are other business owners that have been there. And if everybody is honest, everybody has been there in the beginning.
Sure.
Um, so that was huge. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
I worked with Amy Budd with Whole Heart Ranch. She owns a ranch north of Wellington, and we did some business coaching with her horses.
Ah,
Fantastic
yeah.
experience because horses in general are very intuitive with your
Right.
feeling, your subconscious thoughts, and
Mm,
what you're thinking and feeling, even more so than we are sometimes aware of.
right.
That alone, the experience that I had there helped increase my confidence. But if I were to be honest with you, I mean, I come from banking and I come from national security. I don't come from technology.
Sure.
So that has
Yeah.
also been a barrier. I have learned so much. My
Mm,
husband tells me often, you know technology. You spend 60, 70 hours a week in technology. You know more than most people, but it wasn't always that way. And I still have a lot to learn. And
hmm.
I think it was that imposter syndrome that I felt
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
beginning
yeah.
that I also am realizing is very normal, that nobody talks about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are a
For
couple,
sure.
couple things that stand out.
Absolutely. Yeah. All very common for sure.
Mhm.
I read somewhere something resonated with me that may not have resonated. I think messages or things that we read or inspiration or motivation, to when we're really not feeling it, like motivation is not something that we're just, gonna rely on some days to just keep plowing forward. Like we have to harness that from within us because it's not natural on some days. I was having one of those days and um just the simple concept of belief
Yeah.
is everything. If you don't actually believe
Yes.
in yourself, trust yourself, no one else is going to trust that either, right? So it starts within ourselves and the belief we have for ourselves first before anyone else can also believe it, right? So
They're
that
going
simple
to
reminder the other day was like that same thing because we go through phases and journey or phases throughout the journey that we ebb and flow from feeling confident and things are great. Even when things are good, sometimes still like things are good. And we have to remind ourselves, like, to not measure ourselves from that next phase, but to look back, to celebrate those small wins and to believe that the next step is something you can achieve. So that
Yes.
makes such a difference.
What has come to my attention lately, even though I've always known this, I'm an open book. But the downside to being an open book is if you're struggling with something, it's out there for everybody to see. And it's exactly that. If you don't believe that you can do it, that I can do it, that I can be a business owner, other people are going to pick up on that. And I think that's what it came back down to a few months ago. I don't know that I believed
Hmm.
that I could. And so I
Hmm.
started doubting everything. And now I look back and I'm like, okay, I can do this. We can do this. It's going to work. And having that
Sure.
confidence helps. But you're right. It's not something that is always just there. There
Right.
are doubts. There are tired days. I mean, I didn't sleep well last night. I think I got maybe 4 hours of sleep. I don't know why. I just was awake. That makes the day after a very long day. Lots of
It
caffeine.
does.
So,
Yep.
and that also can
Exactly.
affect your emotions and your motivation
Hmm.
in how well you think your business is going to perform.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. Yeah. How have you noticed the effect of excessive involvement in business, and the effect that that has on the business's overall ability to run without you,
Mm.
to grow without your constant oversight? Have you noticed signs of that yet in this phase? And
I
knowing you need to replace, like continually be mindful of the fact that it can't always be dependent upon you to grow it.
I think that I have great coaches, and I think
Yeah.
that my future and my husband's future has always been we would one day like our business to run without us.
Mm.
So it is something constantly in the back of my mind. It's hard in the beginning, right? When you're the one out there as a business owner doing sales, marketing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have never been one to micromanage. I'm much more of a delegator. So Austin, our technician, he's brilliant. He knows his role. I'll come in and I'll check in with him. I will make sure I'm there to
Mm-hmm.
support him, but I also don't have to be in the middle of everything unless he absolutely needs me. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to keep that balanced mindset, knowing that down the road, that's hopefully going to be the path. But if I were to be honest, and my husband and I have talked about this, eventually we would like him to come into the business. And this
Mm-hmm.
is my baby. This has turned into my baby. The initial
Yep.
goal was for me to start it and him to take it over while and us to flip-flop roles. That is where I think it's going to be hard for me because I've poured my blood, sweat, and tears into this. Can I release that business to him for me to support him and be along the side, alongside him?
Mm-hmm.
But and just like he is right now, working in the background with me, he just also
Mm-hmm.
has a full-time job. He works for UC Health as an IT supervisor. So he's got a full-time job. He supports me part-time. But when our roles reverse, that's going to be the true test, I think, for me of am I going to be able to let go? Am I going to be able to say, I don't have to be in all of my business, in all of our business, because it's not just my business, it's our business. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a long roundabout answer to your
Yeah.
question, but I'm keeping
Yeah.
everything open. And it's a learning experience. It's
Absolutely.
hard in the beginning,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What approaches have proven effective so far for you, knowing that transition is coming, knowing the plan long term of you being less of an operational leader to focus on that long-term strategy and making sure the organizational health is, strong in the company before that transition happens.
I think we're newly into what that journey is going to look like. So if you have any
Yeah,
tips for me, I would love to hear that.
sure. Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned that you're a delegator, that's a piece of it for sure. That's one element in continually being mindful of the business's dependency on any owner, on any one person, actually, right? So, um, the health and strength and sustainability for a business to grow can't be so reliant on any one individual. Let's say, for example, you're able to fully delegate the revenue driving function of the firm at some point. But if there's so much reliance built on any one individual, something happens, that person leaves, whatever it might be, right? So, dependency is a big factor in it. When you mentioned delegate, just continually being, um, finding the business foundationally for that in mind and that goal in mind of making sure that it's not always going to be dependent upon you or your husband, especially if you both eventually, see a world in which both of you can take less involvement in the day to day at some point. So yeah, I'm like, that could be a whole episode, I think, maybe.
I love that.
But
And
you and I can chat through it more.
one-on-one outside of this to talk. I mean,
Hmm.
don't know how long Austin will be with us. We hope for a very long period of time. We'd like to be able to retain our employees, but we have big visions and goals for him that he may not have for himself. But eventually, we hope that there is maybe an operations management role for him within
Hmm.
our business.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
how cool would that be to have him be with us from the beginning to all of a sudden
Hmm.
to step away from our business, step away, right? You never really step away from your business and allow somebody else to oversee the operations side of it. But you have to have somebody that you trust.
Hmm. Hmm. Wholeheartedly. Yeah. That's so crucial. Yeah. Um, why is self-awareness and the importance of strengths
Mm.
across your team and yourself, why is that so essential?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Um,
I think it's huge. It helps build a well-rounded team.
Yeah.
I think that if you're aware of strengths in general, I think self-awareness is important in general because you can't
Hmm.
really can't grow without it. um, if you don't know what things need to be worked on because you're not aware enough, it's not going to change. It's just going to stay the same. So in that regard,
Hmm.
self-awareness is important. But at the same time, when you know those strengths, you can foster that, right? You can nurture that and you can increase those strengths. A well-rounded team is so important. I always say my husband's the big picture guy. He seriously is a visionary. And then I'm kind
Hmm.
of somewhere in the middle. I love,
Hmm.
read the book, Six Types of Working Genius.
Hmm.
I think without taking the assessment, I might be one of the galvanizers, the motivators of people.
Hmm.
In Austin, he takes it down to the nitty gritty and the
Hmm.
detail. And having all aspects of that on your team
Hmm.
is important. But you have to be self-aware enough to know where your joy is found, where your
Right.
competencies are,
Right.
um, where you just are not happy. And granted, all of us do things throughout the day that aren't our cup of tea, right? But
Hmm.
hopefully we spend most of our time in the areas that provide us joy, that provide that where our strengths lie.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, six working genius, the types of working genius. That's a definitely a tool that we've used in several of the businesses that we've served, several of them, right? From Colby to Working Genius to Predictive Index, so many assessments to help understand strengths, where strengths lie, working styles, communication styles, and all of that, and how that factors into the full team's awareness, and
Mhm.
everybody's self-awareness to help everybody work better together. So that's a good one for sure. And just knowing those and everybody being aware of themselves and where their gaps are, um, is pivotal to structure the team ready for that, ready for growth in each of their owned areas and accountabilities for the business to be able to grow. So
Mhm.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
read that book in a weekend. I think that it spoke to me that much
Hmm.
and the importance of it. And
Yeah.
I also want to be where I love to be. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to be
Hmm.
in the role that they love?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We want to be in our area of joy, not frustration or energy rather than depleted. So, yeah, there's only so long, and being self-aware in a role you may be in that is going to stretch you out of that zone, where you need to take care of and foster a path forward and know, at some point where you can elevate yourself to an area of your core genius. So self-awareness in that is huge.
What is
Um,
your core genius?
Mine.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So the six types of working genius, mine is my two prominent ones are um, galvanizing and discernment. I couldn't think of so discerning and understanding prioritization and when to go or not to go. Um, those are my two. So at least the top ones. I think my more areas of frustration I know are the tenacity and enablement. Um, so yeah,
Yes,
it's fun to go through it with a team,
it is.
and to see where everybody's differences lie and that alignment of where we get energy with the flow of where work is. So yeah, yeah, but galvanizing as well. I think just rallying and bringing together and fostering environments for people to gather around a shared vision and a shared goal. Um, yeah, is an area that I enjoy. So I'm
Yeah.
with you on that too. Yeah. What are some practical steps that you would suggest to entrepreneurs who are struggling to delegate while also maintaining alignment with their vision?
Ooh, that's a good one. That might be a
Yeah.
really good question for my husband.
Hmm.
Um, what comes to my mind is even just taking a chance on your team.
Mm,
Just because you're delegating to them doesn't mean you're not overseeing. It doesn't mean that you're completely hands off. Uh,
right.
you're still there to support them. You're still there to help them as needed, but sometimes giving your team the trust that they need also helps build their self-confidence because maybe there's a lack of self-confidence on your
Yeah.
team. And so they're not taking the initiative that they need to, or maybe they're feeling
Hmm.
that from you as a leader, from us as a leader.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing what flows downhill.
it does.
Leadership on
Yeah,
down.
totally. Yep. Well, all good points though. That's great. Yeah, that's leadership in its finest. Yeah, so well, thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing a bit of your journey and invulnerability of where things are still new, especially in franchise ownership journey. Um, yeah, it's leaning into the community around you and knowing that you're not alone, your coaches, like that's, I can say for sure and attest to the power of who you have in your circle. So, me included too. I know we haven't known each other long, but I'm right there with you. So, thank you for sharing that journey because so many business owners can relate to that. The pain and the imposter or fear and you know the up at night thoughts. So,
Mhm. Thank you.
yeah.
I mean, I've always wanted to be on a podcast, but like I told you before, um, when you asked me, my immediate response was, "Ooh, that's intimidating." So this has been fun, and I really.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, just straight talk, like there's no needing to put on any sort of um honor badge that isn't authentic to you. So that's what people want to hear. So I'm sure the team and the incredible work you're doing might be helpful to some of our listeners if they do want to find your services,
Yeah.
especially in this Northern Colorado region. Where's the best place for them to get in touch?
Yes, you can call us at our business line, which is 970-877-8548. We also have a website. It's www.teamlogicit.com forward
Hmm.
slash Fort Collins CO. I also post regularly on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I love that. So you can find me on LinkedIn. We have a Facebook page or my personal Facebook page, which as a
Hmm.
business owner, nothing's ever personal, right? So you can find us in any of those areas. And we would love to hear
Great.
from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening so much, and we will see you all next time. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.